Pokémon Ruby and Sapphire, the first Pokemon games on the next generation of Nintendo handhelds. This marked the start of Generation 3. Ruby and Sapphire released back in 2002, November 21st in Japan, and later in America, March 19th, 2003. These games hold a special place in my heart, and they're a big part of my childhood. They're amazing. Do they still hold up? Let's check it out. This game takes place in the Hoenn region, the third generation of Pokemon. You can either play as the male protagonist, Brendan, or the female character, May. What's interesting is, at the start of the game, you're in a moving van or a truck, and you're moving from the Johto region, so that's pretty cool. You can go next door and meet your rival of this game, and then you'll go try to look for Professor Birch, and he's being attacked by a wild Poochyena, and this is where you get to choose your starter Pokemon. The three starters you can choose are Torchic, Mudkip, and Trico. Mudkip's my favorite. I always choose him on every playthrough. I have played through Generation 3 many times, and I will say if you pick Trico, you're going to have like the hardest time, and then Torchic will be middle of the road, and Mudkip, very, very good. But all starters are good, but definitely I always choose Mudkip. He's my favorite. Once you save Professor Birch, he lets you keep your starter Pokemon. You come back to his lab, and then you go meet your rival for the first rival battle in the game. Once you beat your rival, you come back to the lab, and you're given your Pokédex. And your rival will give you some Pokeballs so you can catch Pokemon. Now, you start your journey through the Hoenn. This game has 8 gym badges. Each gym is a different typing. For example, first gym is rock, the second is fighting, the third is electric, and so on and so forth. That's why I said if you pick Trico, you might have a harder time, especially because the fourth gym is fire. So they're all viable, but especially depending on which version you play. If you play Pokemon Ruby, you'll face Team Magma, and if you play Pokemon Sapphire, you'll face Team Aqua. So if you pick Trico and Ruby, you'll have even more trouble with the fire Pokemon to deal with, but if you choose him in Sapphire, you might have a little easier time. Something to add is, your father in this game is actually the 5th gym leader, which is a normal type gym. And that's pretty cool, because you don't usually see your dad in Pokemon games. It's only usually your mother. So this is like one of the only instances that I can remember in a Pokemon game that your father is present. The Hoenn region has a lot of new Pokemon. I believe it brought 100 new Pokemon to this generation. You got Zigzagoon, and he's like a normal encounter, like you always find him, but he has such a great design, and I always have one on my team, especially because as you travel through the world, he'll pick up items if you just have him in your party. So he can pick up like Ultra Balls, potions, rare candies, so he's good to have on your team. Especially he evolves into Linoon, and he can learn like Surf and stuff, even though he's a normal type, so that's cool. I like the bird Pokemon on here, Swellow, Tailo, cool design. Not my favorite bird Pokemon in the franchise, but a welcome addition. Mudkip's evolution, Marshtomp and Swampert, they're just amazing, and the water ground typing is very good. Lots of great Pokemon, and the legendaries, Groudon and Kyogre, I love their designs, and Groudon is my favorite legendary of all time. So many amazing designs, like the Pokemon on here feel like Pokemon, and I love it. Even Manectric. He looks like a Super Saiyan. He has like Super Saiyan kind of hair, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, I love the designs of the Pokemon on here. Throughout the game, you'll explore many different cities. They all look amazing, colorful, vibrant. The music's great and catchy for the cities. You'll come across lots of different NPCs too. Some NPCs will give you berries, they'll give you items if you talk to them. You'll even find your rival sometimes, not trying to battle you, but to just talk to you. Especially like when you run into them in Rustboro City. So, lots of people to talk to. And there's side quests to do too, especially the side quest to deliver the mail to Stephen in Dewford Town in the cave. That will give you the XP share, which you really want. So lots of side quests, different items to obtain, so just talk to everybody. When I was a kid and I played this game, I usually just like went from point A to point B, but as I've gotten older and stuff, in any RPG, you just want to talk to everybody, because you could miss out on items that they can give you. Pretty early on in this game, you'll encounter the main villains, Team Magma and Team Aqua, as early as Petalburg Woods. Team Magma is in Ruby version, and Team Aqua is in Sapphire version. Their motives are to awaken Groudon and Kyogre in each version. In Ruby, they want to increase the land masses and bring about a drought to get rid of all the ocean water, which would end the world. And in Sapphire, they want to flood the world and make it nothing but water, which would also end the world with Kyogre. So they come to their senses as soon as like the reckoning happens at the end of the game with that stuff happening. But that's just the gist of their plans. If you play Pokemon Ruby, Team Aqua will try to help in a way, like kind of be on your side to stop Team Magma. And it's the other way around in Sapphire. Team Aqua is the bad guy, and Team Magma will try to help you stop them. So the story arcs with both teams are basically the same. When you play Pokemon Emerald version, that's where it kind of gets like different, because I believe you fight both those teams in the same game. Throughout the game, you'll encounter many trainers to battle, and this game introduced double battles. So now you can send out two Pokemon at the same time, so that's pretty cool. And there's different typing matchups, so like, say they have like an electric Pokemon with a bug, you could send out Tailo, use Wing Attack, and you could send out your starter, say Mudkip, or even Marshtomp at that point, and use Mud Shot, which is super effective on electric Pokemon. And so like lots of different matchups that can happen. There's not like a million double battles in the game, but there's somewhere in the 10 range, maybe. So it's a cool addition, I like it. You can go fishing on this game to catch Pokemon. Just like the previous generations, there's the old rod, the good rod, and the super rod. Each one lets you catch higher quality types of Pokemon. Like the old rod will just find Magikarp, which you can still find with the super rod. But obviously you'll find like better, stronger Pokemon with the better rods, like the super rod. You can also plant berries and grow them. And so that's a new approach to berries from the previous generation, and Generation 2. They can be equipped to a Pokemon that can heal them in battle if their health gets low enough. There's two types of bikes you can get, the Acro Bike and the Mach Bike. The Mach Bike lets you go up muddy slopes very fast, and in general it's a very, very fast bike. Whereas the Acro Bike is more of like a parkour-ish bike, which lets you like jump and do tricks and stuff. And there's certain paths in the game where you'll need that bike and the Mach Bike to get to certain locations. So you can always head back to Malville and go to the bike shop and change them out whenever you want. You can also go underwater, deep into the ocean. You can traverse through seaweed and encounter Pokemon down there that you normally wouldn't be able to catch with like a fishing rod. So that's awesome. And I don't believe we've ever been able to go use the HM Dive ever again in a Pokemon game to like go underwater and explore. So like that's like very unique to Gen 3, I believe. So that's awesome. I always liked doing that when I was younger. But yeah, just so much creativity in this game. It's just amazing. This game does have a Safari Zone, just like Generation 1 and 2. You can find some good Pokemon here, even some Johto Pokemon. There's Pokeblocks in this game that you can craft in Pokeblock machines, which you use berries to make them, and in the Safari Zone, you can make the Pokeblocks and put them inside of certain areas in the Safari Zone, and you can make certain Pokemon appear, or more likely to appear, I believe, so that's something new to the Safari Zone. Some other new additions are contests, secret bases, and even natures. The contest I don't usually do in my playthroughs of Gen 3 because, like, I don't know, I just don't care for it. But each Pokemon move has like a different category, like beauty or cool. And so depending on like what moves your Pokemon have, you can use them in the contests itself, and you can try to win a ribbon from winning the contest. So that's like something optional you can do if you're into that. There's also secret bases. And so throughout the world, you'll find many different like cracks and rocks, or even like trees, big trees, and you can create secret bases. You need the TM secret power to make secret bases in those locations. But you can decorate them with Poké dolls, tables, cushions, chairs. You can customize it. Some secret bases are bigger than others on the inside. There's so many secret base locations, so just find the one you like. As you explore through the world, beat more trainers, get more gym badges, catch more Pokemon, you'll encounter your rival again. And the second rival battle, a lot of people say is hard. And when I was a kid, it was definitely harder. But as I've gotten older and stuff, like, I know what I'm doing now, so it wasn't as bad. Especially if you like, catch other Pokemon. But specifically if you choose Mudkip, you should have a Marshtomp by then. It can be kind of tricky with her Grovyle, the rival's Grovyle, so unless you like caught like a Tailo and has wing attack, you should be fine. But yeah, a lot of people agree that's like a hard boss fight, rival fight, but yeah. As the story in this game progresses, you'll keep chasing down Team Magma or Aqua, and to the point where they eventually awaken Groudon or Kyogre. This is the point in the game where you're going to have to dive underwater to try to find the entrance to Pseudopolis. It's kind of easy to find once you know where to dive. Also, diving underwater, you can only do it in parts of the water that are darker blue, whereas like the normal blue you just surf on. So you dive underwater near a rock near Moss Deep City. If you go like south of it, I believe there's like a giant white rock, and you want to dive around there, explore underwater, and then you'll find the entrance to Pseudopolis. You'll go to the Cave of Origin, and then you'll confront either Groudon or Kyogre. You can either defeat them or catch them to stop the havoc that they're causing, the extreme drought or the heavy rain that's going to cause flooding. I remember somebody, when I was like in 5th grade, said that they defeated Kyogre because they didn't know they're supposed to catch him, so that's funny. But yeah, definitely go catch them. You can use a Master Ball that you'll get from one of the Magma or Team Aqua bases before that point in the game. So you can use a Master Ball, or you can just use Ultra Balls. I believe the legendaries on here have like a 2% catch rate. I think that's what I read somewhere, but especially compared to the new games, the legendaries on here are just a pain to try to catch, because they just, sometimes you'll throw an Ultra Ball and they won't even catch. You could go through 40 Ultra Balls, which I have, and they'll be in like the red health, and you still won't catch them. So either the Ultra Balls just suck in these games, or that catch rate is just that low. Once you catch Groudon or Kyogre, or defeat them for some reason, you can challenge the 8th gym leader, Wallace, and then head on to Victory Road to make your way to the Elite Four. I will mention 2 other very important characters throughout the game are Steven, the Elite Four champion, and Wallace, an upcoming trainer. Throughout the game, Steven, you'll first encounter him in Dewford Town when you do the side quest to get the XP share. But you also see him multiple different times throughout the game. He'll give you some dialogue he'll share with you, and in Fortree City, the 6th gym badge city, he'll give you the Devon Scope, which lets you see the invisible Kecleon blocking a bridge and the gym of that town. So, good character, and even before you fight the legendary Pokemon of your game, he'll like say he believes in you and that you can do it and all that stuff. Great character, and then you fight him as the champion of the Elite Four. So great character. Wallace, he has a good character arc as well. He's like a rookie. You come with him to catch his first Pokemon, which is a Ralts. And then you'll battle him again before the 3rd gym badge. And then, throughout Victory Road, once you get to the very end of it, the exit, he'll rematch you. And so he has like a whole brand new team of powerful Pokemon. So he has a great character arc, and he like starts off this way, and then he progresses. So he gets from weak to stronger. That's really cool to see. And he's like a better trainer now because you helped him earlier in the game. I will say that your rival is good on here, but like at the very end of the game, I believe the last time you faced them is Lily Cove City. They don't really pose much of a threat, and it's kind of like an optional rival battle, unless you want to go inside like the superstore they have in Lily Cove City. So, like, I feel like your rival just doesn't give you much of a challenge near the end of the game, but it's whatever. I've saved this part for a while. The music. The music in this game is amazing. I love it. It's so catchy. Junichi Masuda, he did an amazing job, and there's some other composers that also helped. Fantastic job, and I just love the soundtrack to this game. Everything from the battle theme, the rival theme, the Elite Four. The Elite Four on here is like my favorite iteration of any Elite Four theme. It's so good. Everything about the music on here is amazing. The abandoned ship theme, it's kind of like sorrow and sad, but at the same time like an optimistic feeling to it. The music on here just catches so many different emotions, and it's just amazing. You got like serious tones to happy, uplifting, fast, energetic themes of music to like the more serious ones. The music on here is amazing. If I had to pick like a favorite track that wasn't like the Elite Four or even a battle theme, it'd probably be the abandoned ship. It's just so catchy. If you made it all the way through the entire game, got all 8 gym badges, made it all the way through Victory Road, then you can challenge the Elite Four. The Elite Four on here, they're strong. They're not a pushover. If you share your XP share with multiple different Pokemon, you should be okay. Or even if you're just someone who just like leaves it on one other Pokemon besides like your main that you always send out, like your starter, you'll probably be fine. But it's good just to take the XP share throughout the game and just give it to different Pokemon so they can all be around the same level. The first Elite Four member, he has dark type Pokemon as well as grass. The second one is Ghost, I believe, and then the third is icy water, kind of. Then you have Drake the Dragon Keeper, or whatever. And then you face Steven, and As long as you have like Ice Beam, especially if you use like Swampert, I believe you can get Ice Beam at the abandoned ship. There's like a key you can pick up and open a door and get it, if I remember correctly. But he has some strong Pokemon, but if you have like Earthquake or Ice Beam, and you know what types are weak, like what types he has, you should be fine. But it's a good challenge. And also, rebattling the Elite Four is like a good way to like grind and level up, because at that point, there's nothing really you can do to make your Pokemon stronger at that point in the game, because you already beat every trainer. So you can just like grind the Elite Four. That's what I used to do. Once you beat Steven, you become the champion of the Elite Four. And so you'll enter the Hall of Fame, and then the credits will roll. I love the credit music on here. It's very somber, and it has like a sad feeling to it. And it shows you like all the Pokemon you've caught, as well as like your protagonist riding the bike. So very nostalgic, and it's a nice credits scene. I like that, especially how they like show you all the Pokemon you've caught throughout the game. Once you beat the game, there are some post-game things you can do, such as you'll receive the SS ticket and you can go to the battle tower. You can fight trainers here, but you won't get experience points, and instead you'll get like battle points, and so you can use those to like buy stuff. You can beat multiple trainers in a row. I believe you have to beat like 7 in a row before you can like back out of it. So that's something you can do. I usually don't really fiddle with it because I don't really care. If you got XP for it, then sure. I also believe they cap your Pokemon at certain levels. Like if your Pokemon's like level 70, they'll cap it at like level 50, for example. I could be remembering that wrong, but I'm pretty sure. So that's something you can do. But also, what's better to do, if you're not into that, you can go catch the Reggie trios. So you have Regice or Regice, Registeel, and Regirock. But even in Ruby and Sapphire, you can catch Rayquaza. You can find him at Sky Pillar. He's level 70, and he can use Rest to continually heal himself if you give him a status ailment. He can be a pain to catch, and yeah, like I've already mentioned earlier that the catch rate on here is like a 2%, so on top of that, him constantly recovering, he can be like a pain. And I feel like the game like teased me, because I've had the ball wiggle 3 times, 3 separate occasions, and like it still just didn't catch. And so like, yeah, I recommend like grinding the Elite Four a couple times and then going there, so your Pokemon are high level enough to withstand his attacks. But yeah, you can also catch Latios or Latios, depending on what version you play, and you'll get Latios in Ruby and Latios in Sapphire. They are the only roaming legendaries of this game, similar to like Suicune, Entei, and Raikou from Gen 2. So like, if you don't have a Wobbuffet in the first slot in your party, which has like Shadow Tag ability that can like prevent them from escaping battle, or even like Mean Look, I believe, if I remember, you can use that attack to prevent them from escaping and try to catch them that way. If they do escape, you can look at their location in the Pokédex and you can see where they ran off to, but every time you enter a route, it'll randomize where they'll like jump to, so it's like, it can just be a pain. I definitely recommend saving your Master Ball for Latios or Latios, just to save you the hassle. But, I mean, if you want to use it on Groudon or Kyogre, be my guest, but be prepared to get a headache trying to track them down. There is like a trick you can do with the bike near Slateport City, near like the bicycle area. But yeah, it's still like a pain to find them if they escape, so that's something. I love Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. Obviously, they're pretty much the same game, besides you fight one bad team in one version and the other bad team in the other. And each version has like version exclusive Pokemon, But besides that, they're practically the same game, and a different legendary. And Latios is in Ruby, Latios is in Sapphire. Despite that, they're practically the same game. Emerald version is like a whole nother story, because they added like the Battle Frontier and all that stuff. But I love Pokemon Ruby. It's like my 4th favorite video game ever made, and I just love it so much. Now let's get into some stuff that people might not like. These games have a save battery, just like the first other 2 generations. So, Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, and even Emerald, they use flash memory, which means they save directly to the cartridge board. Whereas Gen 2 and Gen 1, if I remember correctly, Gen 1 uses like a 2035 battery, and then Gen 2 uses a 2025 battery, or it's vice versa. So there's like watch batteries, essentially. Because Gen 2 has a day and night cycle, which is why it needs that battery, but those batteries only last like 7 years, and your save file will just be wiped completely. And Gen 1, red, blue, and yellow and all that, the battery is only used when you save the game. Versus Gen 2, the battery's constantly like being used for keep track of the day and night cycle. Gen 3 doesn't have a day and night cycle, which might upset people, but I don't really care. Doesn't bother me. But the save battery for Gen 3 is used for tracking berry growth, the high tide and the low tide of that one cave near Moss Deep City, north of it, depending on like what Pokemon you'll see, depending on like the tide, if it's high or low. Also, like, I believe different NPCs will give you berries each day. And in Lilycove City, like that superstore, they'll like run a lottery. And there's also a man in Pacific Log Town that will try to see the Mirage Island or whatever. But it's like a 1 in 65,000 chance, so that's what the battery's used for on Gen 3. And so if it dries out, I don't think you can grow berries anymore. And NPCs won't give you a berry each day, certain NPCs. And the lottery won't reset either. So if your battery drains on Gen 3, you'll still keep your save file. And that's all that really, really matters. That's what's most important. But you can always change the battery and start regrowing berries again. But you'll need to wait for the time of the battery to catch up to your save file. So I believe if you've played like 20 hours, you just gotta wait 20 hours for the battery to catch up with it. So the battery issue on Gen 3 isn't as serious as Gen 1 and 2. Something else that might bother people is the amount of water. People like to joke, especially IGN, there's too much water in this game. While there is a lot of water, it's not that big of a deal, and I like it. I like exploring on it. And you get to go underwater, so that's a bonus. So there's not like so much water. You know, there's different locales, from like the volcanic ash that's dropping in Fall Harbor Town to the desert that you need the go-go goggles for or whatever. Lots of different environments, and the water isn't really a problem. Not for me. I like it. Probably the biggest thing people have to complain about Gen 3 in general is you can't connect to the older games on Game Boy with the Game Boy Advance. So you can't trade Pokemon from Gold and Silver to Ruby and Sapphire. And that's probably one of the reasons why they remade Pokemon Red and Green as Fire Red and Leaf Green, is so people could trade with the Kanto region. With Gen 3, they dropped the slogan, "Gotta catch 'em all," because at that point, it's practically impossible. You would need about like 5 or 6 games to get all the Pokemon. Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, maybe Emerald, and then you would need Fire Red, Leaf Green, Pokemon Coliseum, and XD Gale of Darkness. just to get all the Pokemon. So like completing the Pokédex on here is virtually impossible unless you cheat. Especially for event Pokemon like Deoxys or even Mew, they had events for them in the Hoenn. Some of those were like exclusive to Japan, or they just don't exist anymore, the events, so yeah. That doesn't really bother me. You can still like complete the Hoenn Dex, and that's something, right? Overall, Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, they're amazing games. I love them so much. The music, the graphics, the gameplay, everything holds up. And these are amazing games. My favorite generation of Pokemon. And like I said before, Pokemon Ruby is my 4th favorite video game ever. So, I just love these games so much. Go play them. And I know the prices for these games is ridiculous. Especially Emerald is like $220 as of this recording, in the 200 plus range. Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire are around 80 to 90. If you can, play the remakes, because they're way cheaper. But yeah, I love this game, both these games. Play some iteration of them, or even use an emulator if you have to. Amazing games, go play them. I'll see you next time.